like a testicle or something. You see that little ball right down in the base there? That is a ball sack. It's a pollen sac, don't worry about it. Going. You need help. Hold on. I harvested all that cilantro. You can see where I snapped it all off, and it's still massive. That I just planted. I might have, like, you see where this is, it comes up so far. I think that probably shouldn't be quite that deep. Yeah. Whoops. Here you go. You can see the baby. These watermelon leaves are looking very happy. So many of these just look like zucchini. I'm pretty sure I put zucchini in spots where I thought I was putting something different. You're falling over. Oh no. You need to grow up here, darling. Whoa. You need to be up here. See? Look, now grab a hold. Grab a hold. Great. Stay. I'm not sure why or how, but these look like little lettuce seedlings must have like come over all the way over here from the patch over here. Whoops. With all that rain, we now have happy plants. Look at all these borage plants. These are just cluster-fucked together. That's gonna be way too tight together, but it's okay. It's gonna help keep out some of the weeds. Check out, we've got this dill and more cilantro up under here. My main goal this year is to get rid of the Johnson grass. Now, those of you who are not in the Midwest, you may not be familiar with Johnson grass. It is the bane of my existence. It looks like corn, but except obviously without the ears. It grows super fucking tall. This is still a baby. it will grow taller than me. And the rhizomes from it that grow underground can reach 200 feet from just one plant. What you're gonna want is cardboard, and you'll just take all the tape off, lay it down, and put the mulch on top. And you'll need about 3 layers of that to fight things like Bermuda grass, but this year we're just working on the Johnson grass as our primary focus, so 1 layer has been doing good enough to let us pull it out of the soil. What is helping with the mulching is it's retaining the moisture, and that moisture is making it more breathable air underneath, so it's not so compacted. So when I want to pluck it out, let me see if I can give you an example one. I just kind of wiggle it to loosen it, and then I have to reach down, wiggle it, and reach down and wiggle, and then really pull from the back of my shoulder. Now you can see where this broke off right here, but with all these roots on the side here, I know that this was a baby rather than one that was broken off of something that's been here a long time with longer rhizomes. And now it has more rhizome under there that I missed, but I got most of it, as you can see with all these little hairs coming out the sides. I got most of that. That does not come out so easy without the mulch. It's gonna be a struggle until it stops breaking off, and the more times I break it, the more times it'll like remember where to break and continue to have that weak spot where it'll just break. But as you can see, these are corn, and the only way I can tell the difference is because the corn, the very bottom leaf is shorter. You know how seedlings have like their baby leaves and then their true leaves? Well, with Johnson grass, all the leaves are more so the same, like true leaves, but with corn, it has one more like rounder, stubby leaf at the base. Ladies have been enjoying their worms that I gave them. Super yummy treats. They love it, it's their favorite treat, so they're having a good time. Let's see if there's any eggs today. Ooh, hello, eggs. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Now with everybody's egg color being different, you can tell if anyone needs more calcium or something like that, and I know whose eggs is whose. Even these two brown are a similar color, but you can tell this one's a little bit more lighter color and this one's much richer in color. And I know this one's mangoes, this one's cuckoos, and this one is dotties. So I know whose egg it is, that way I can take care of them. I'm also always monitoring the chicken coop. The bottom here is the humidity and the top is the temperature. Fun fact, the chickens do what they call like a dust bath. You know, you've seen like birdies in the water doing a water bath. Well, dust bathing is where they like dig a hole in the dirt and fluff their feathers around in it. And what that does for them, as you can see, she's doing it right there, it kind of keeps the pests off of them. It's like what they naturally do for that. If I think they need additional help, they don't have any pest issues right now, but if I see any of the starting signs of pests starting to get to them, then what I'll do, are you trying to eat me? Stop it. Hey. You can't eat my robe. As I'll put diatomaceous earth down in one of their little holes that they've made so they can dust bathe in something that will actually kill the parasites rather than just kind of dusting them off. And this is also a whole part of this mulching process, is taking care of the chickens responsibly. This is called rotational pasture. As you can see, the feed that I give them, I have a feed in there that's just their pelleted feed, and then I have like a whole food feed that I put on the ground for them so that whatever they don't eat will sprout up, like what happened over here. Some sunflower seeds and flax seed germinated over here. And as we rotate them around, any parasites that might have gotten on them, we'll move them to a new place. I dumped all this mulch that's piled high so that once we move this, I can just rake it down that way, so that then those parasites that hatch will not have anything to eat and will die where they were, so that by the time we've moved them all over the place and moved them back around to where they last were, that layer of mulch acts like a litter for them, and it'll keep their feet clean, so as they poop and stuff and then they kick around and mix it in, and it nourishes the soil, it restores the land, it keeps a healthy pest-free environment for the chickens. They constantly have fresh live forage in addition to the feed that we give them, and more that forage becomes less random weed grasses and more so their nutrient dense diet that we give them from their feed. These two pumpkin plants right here and here came from, you would have seen in a past video, we gave them some decorative pumpkins to munch on around Halloween time in the holidays on the homestead video. And some of those seeds went on the ground and planted pumpkins. So those are going to be some funky decorative looking pumpkins that we could put on our front porch, and it's all thanks to these girls working hard or hardly working. They're just living their best life. You know, we've got their roosts and swings. They use them every day. Environment for them that's going to be mentally stimulating. I'm going to be switching them from this fluffy bedding to sand. It's great to use a nice soft bedding like that for the winter. It'll help keep them warm. It's an insulator, but it's gonna get really hot this summer, and so we're gonna switch them to sand in the coop. And like we've been doing, mulch out here works really well. It keeps their feet clean, and even after all that rain, the fact that they kick around the mulch like this, it dries out so fast. They don't have any issues with like muddy run. Damn, their freaking AC is so loud. Let me go back over here. Especially with it being hot and wet. With pine shavings, it's always a risk to have ammonia build up and have mold build up. And so you have to change that out pretty regularly. Whereas with sand, it's like a cat litter box. You can just scoop it. So you don't have to change it all out so regularly. You just kind of have to like sift through it so that it stays dry. Chickens, as a bird, they produce their own dust of sorts. It's not just dust produced from the ground from dust bathing. They produce a dust, poultry dust. And so it's important to have ventilation in the coop so that that doesn't build up in there, because they have much more sensitive lungs than humans do. So if it's nasty for you to breathe, then it's even worse for them, and imagine them having to sleep in that, you know? That's why I can't just put like mulch in their coop, because with them kicking that up, that would be very dusty in addition to their poultry dust. Sawdust will obviously be dusty. I would use sand year-round, but it also gets very cold here, as you would have seen in our last video. I just accidentally cracked this. So when that happens, not just when they crack, but if we have a lot of excess eggs, we just give it to the chickens, because chickens will eat their own eggs. No, the eggs are not fertilized. We do not have a rooster, and they love it, as you can see. It's perfectly natural for them to eat. That is a bunch of nutrients that they gave out of their bodies to produce that egg, that we bred them, not we, but like humankind, bred these birds to lay more eggs than what they would out in nature. And that is by breed. Just like with dogs, we bred them to look all different sizes and shapes and have different talents. Same thing with chickens. They were bred to lay a lot of eggs. We give them their nutrients back in other forms, but I feel like giving their eggs back to them is really a way of acknowledging, like, you put out all these specific nutrients to make this egg, And Oliver, hey, leave it. There's a neighbor dog yelling. You don't have to yell back. Be the bigger puppy. They heard you. Yeah, they heard you. That's a good boy. Thank you. Anyway, so yeah, it does get, with the wind chill, it gets to -20 here. And so they need to bundle up together. We heat the coop. And we give them really fluffy bedding that insulates their feet, because we don't want their feet getting frostbite, we don't want their combs getting frostbite, so we want the heated layer underneath and a heated layer coming down on top of them. You know, if we just had sand, then we probably would have had to deal with more issues with their feet getting cold. That's why we swap bedding materials depending on the time of year. This is the next spot that we're gonna put their run. Pretty obvious. It's growing a lot and spreading, and I literally just mowed it, and you cannot tell because it grew again from all the rain. And that'll be done. What? Roxy, what's wrong? Thank you for telling me. Hers is voicing her opinion. You're supposed to be a bird made for the hot weather. Why are you panting and no one else is? Get in the shade if it's that big of an issue. Here's what I got from that local farm of retirees. I got some oregano. This is a cutting celery, so it stays really thin, but tastes like celery. And lemon balm. Lemon balm is one of my favorite herbs. You should use it in your tea when you're having anxiety, and it'll make you all better. And if you're having any issues with insomnia, you'll want to just harvest a little bit of the roots from this valerian plant, make a tea out of that. You probably want to add some lemon balm or chamomile or something because it's very bitter. Add a little sugar to that tea and it should be tasty. Oliver, what do you think, honey? Everything's growing up so big. Just like him. Him's a big boy. He's hot. He's not made for hot weather. You all done outside, baby? Shed a lot of his winter coat pretty well. It's not too bad. It would be so much more would be coming out if he still had more of that to shed. I think he's done shedding out his winter coat. That's good. As an environmentalist and an animal rights activist, I have to step up on my soapbox for just a minute. If you don't want to hear me up, doing my TED Talk, then you don't have to watch the video. This is here for the people who do want to hear it. I know that a lot of you found my channel wanting to know more about managing mental illness. There's two main things I want to say. The first is that tilling caused the Dust Bowl. All right, that's another reason why we mulch rather than till. Not every backyard farm is necessarily going to be using the most up-to-date practices in terms of sustainability and ethics. So don't be afraid to just ask. I have rescued chickens from a backyard farm, not neighboring here, but at the previous place I lived, they were just like around the corner from me, pretty much like a 2-minute drive away out in the country. Their setup was like maybe this tall. Let's see, maybe like this tall, and only went out to like maybe here down, and only like maybe that wide. That's really small, and they had a lot of birds, way more than what we have here. And those birds were having babies because they were just letting them breed and not taking care of them. And their run was full of a combination of mud and manure. It was winter, it was freezing temperatures. The adults, who were larger than the babies, were trampling the babies, stomping them into this muddy manure mixture, and then the ground was freezing and freezing the babies into the ground. Not all of them even survived transport. I had to get out pliers and wire cutters and open up this run that I had been asked to rescue these chickens. And then a few weeks later, this person who had asked
to take these neglected chickens from them, asked for the chickens back. And I said no, because this is what brings me back around to those of you who are here because of wanting to hear about managing mental illness. This was somebody who was dealing with depression. And I've been there too, hun. But I think maybe something different about our trauma was, my trauma was a lot of me being put in a caretaking role. So even when I'm not doing well, I still put my animals' well-being above my own a lot of the time. And I feel worse if I don't. So that's part of my managing my illness. I give myself animals to take care of because it keeps me on my feet. But if you aren't like me with that, and it's not something that you can manage right now, don't take on the responsibility of animals and then try to, like, I don't know, put it off on other animals like roosters and guard dogs and stuff who there's a local farm that I was supporting, but I was getting really upset that their guardian dog's fur was getting so matted and sticks and twigs were like sticking out of its butt, and I just was glad that we got our own chickens and could just work with what we grow here in our own practices, because, you know, we're responsible for the animals, and to an extent the animals can work together to keep each other safe. But, you know, I've had a rooster before, and I think that was a mistake because some roosters are very forceful with the hens, and again, that is just torment that is, at the end of the day, unnecessary. Because let me tell you right now, this setup keeps them safe. You know what? I mean, a lot of you will be like, animals will just dig up under there. We move them around so often, nothing can like dig a hole to get all the way up under it in one night. Things gotten in, a lot of time has passed by. We've had threats come up and just not be able to get in, like hawks and stuff, because it's covered on the top. We don't have to clip our animals' wings because they don't have anywhere to fly other than up on their roosts and up on their swings, and you know, they're still able to fly. We still let them fly. We still have enough room for them to run, you know, like top speed run from one end of the run to the other. I think that's important. As an advocate for our planet and for our fellow inhabitants, we as humans have a responsibility, and we can't just totally ignore it. We can, but at a cost. Dust Bowl, suffering. Me, I don't want that on my conscience, which is why I'm growing some of my own food, so I don't have to always rely on what society is willing to offer. And a lot of times it's just not affordable. It's not accessible. And I want to acknowledge, if you guys are out there and you can only afford the cheapest stuff, I don't blame you for that, you know? And some people are allergic to plant protein. You know, I'm not out here trying to say that everybody has to live the same way and make the same choices, but I am saying we need to be responsible. We need to take accountability for the impact that we have in this world. It's a little bit harsh, it's a big adjustment, and I'm not saying that anybody has to change today or tomorrow. I'm just saying I wouldn't be putting all this out there into the world for no reason. It's never perfect. You just got to do your best. And sometimes your best one day is not your best the next day. But come on. We can always do better. And that's something to strive for. Thanks for watching.